We start in the Middle East with a number of major developments to bring you in Israel, Iran and also in Gaza. So let's begin with something which could be a key indicator of how the US is viewing the conflict between Israel and Iran. We can see President Trump here arriving in Washington just after 5 in the morning. He cut short his trip to the G7 summit in Canada. His spokesperson had told us that he wasn't leaving early due to the fighting in the Middle East, but he was pushed by reporters on Air Force One. And then it was clear that the situation was still very high on his agenda. He told reporters he was in no mood to negotiate with Iran.
I didn't say I was looking for a ceasefire. That was Emmanuel, nice guy, but he doesn't get it right too often. But we're looking for better than a ceasefire. Right now we're doing pretty well. Remember, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. Not to go too deep into it, they just can't have a nuclear weapon.
What was the thinking on the call for Tehran to evacuate? Is there a threat or is there incoming? What was the thinking on the full evacuation?
I want people to be safe. And that's always possible. A thing like that could happen. I just want people to be safe.
Is there any new concern about U.S. troops or assets in the region at all today?
Great people, they know how to protect themselves.
When you say better, what's
we'll come down so hard if they do anything to our people. We'll come down so hard, then the gloves are off so beautifully. Now, I think they know not to touch our troops.
Sound not great on Air Force One, but the words that everyone is really looking into at the moment is when he said we are looking at something better than a ceasefire. Not clear what that meant, but lots of speculation, and we'll be delving into that throughout the program. The rest of the world, of course, watching these events very, very closely. China accusing Mr. Trump of pouring oil on the conflict and urging its citizens to leave Iran and Israel as soon as possible. And the European Union's Foreign Affairs representative Kaja Kallas had this to say about potential US intervention.
When it comes to United States getting involved, then it will definitely drag the region into a broader conflict, and this is in nobody's interest. And from my call with Secretary of State Rubio, he emphasized that it's also not in their interest to be drawn into this conflict.
Israel has been conducting its 5th day of attacks on Iran, which is also launching its own missile and drone strikes. There have been more casualties on both sides. The Israeli military has issued more evacuation orders for parts of Tehran. This footage was filmed there earlier today. You can see everyone trying to leave the city, filling up their cars with fuel. Many of the drivers are saying it's really hard to get fuel and the roads are chock full of cars and really stressful trying to get out of the city. Israel says it's hit a number of missile and drone launch sites in the west of Iran. Iran says it's carried out successful missile attacks on Israeli military intelligence headquarters and offices housing Mossad, although there's no evidence of this. Missiles also fired at Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Well, this was Tel Aviv early this morning, apparently as an Iranian airstrike was taking place. It appears that the overnight attacks from Iran have been less intense than in recent days, with no reports of any deaths, though. Meanwhile, the International Atomic Energy Agency has said it's identified additional elements that indicate a direct impact on underground enrichment halls at the Natanz nuclear site in Iran. The underground enrichment plant was one of several targeted by Israeli strikes on Friday. Now, the global nuclear watchdog says this latest assessment is based on continued analysis of high-resolution satellite imagery. It added that there were no changes to reports from the Fordow and Isfahan enrichment plants in other parts of the country. Well, let's take you to Israel now. We can join our correspondent Ione Wells, who is in Herzliya, which is in the north of Israel. What's happened there, Ione?
Well, here in Herzliya, which is just north of Tel Aviv, it's a coastal, normally touristy city. You can see behind me that a bus depot was hit by an Iranian missile this morning. There's multiple buses behind me that have suffered pretty extensive damage. This one has been completely gutted by flames. Now, we can estimate from where this is what the target of this Iranian missile was, but Israeli censorship rules mean we cannot broadcast that. In the meantime, though, we can say that nobody here was hurt, nobody was injured. It doesn't seem that there were people in the area. I've spoken to people in the wider Herzliya region who say that they reported hearing loud booms. They saw plumes of smoke when this happened. And just here, you can see the site where this missile appeared to have hit. It's about 5 meters deep. This clearly made a significant impact. People reported, as I say, hearing very loud explosions in Herzliya when this went off and seeing smoke even across the other side of the city. So this is one of the main direct hits that has been reported as part of those retaliatory Iranian strikes today. In the meantime, we know that there are more strikes that have been reported in Tehran.
Oni, what have people been telling you that you've managed to speak to about how they feel about their sense of safety and whether the Iron Dome can protect them at the moment?
Well, there are mixed feelings about this. I think certainly there is a feeling of shock about how many in the last couple of days have got through. Now, still, of course, the overwhelming majority have been intercepted. But some Israelis that I've spoken to have said that they're not used to seeing things get through. And it has felt like this conflict has been a lot closer to home, particularly in areas that I visited like Bat Yam, like Tamra, like here in Herzliya, which have suffered from direct hits. In terms of the response, though, to the Israeli government, and what people think they should be doing in response to some of these direct hits, it does vary. Some I've spoken to remain supportive of the Israeli government and say that they feel even though some of their communities are suffering as a result, the government should continue striking Iran because they see a sort of bigger picture aim of what they describe as kind of striking Iran's nuclear program. However, I've also spoken to some Israelis who say that this isn't representative of all Israelis and they would like the government to stop. Some that I spoke to, for example, yesterday cited that they fear this will damage negotiations to release hostages from Gaza. Others said that they felt this had taken attention off Gaza and they weren't happy with what the Israeli government and the IDF were doing both there but also in Iran at the moment. So there are some mixed views among Israelis about how the government is responding to this, but certainly I think something that everyone shares is a sense of shock that this is hitting communities, buildings, some residential areas even, bringing this much closer to home for them.
Ione, as we speak to you, we are also getting live pictures from just south of Tel Aviv, which we're going to share with our viewers as well. This is the site of another strike at Rishon LeZion, and the Foreign Affairs Minister of Israel, Gideon Saar, is there just talking to people and looking at the damage that has been done there in Rishon LeZion. What is the official word coming up from the government at the moment about how long this could take and what it is they want now from the Americans?
Well, that is a question that many are asking. What is the sort of long-term strategy? What's the end game here for Israel? And at the moment, we don't necessarily know. The rhetoric coming out of Israeli ministers has certainly been clear that they want to carry on until they feel they have completely sort of eliminated Iran's nuclear program. They've also, though, hinted that they are increasingly targeting, of course, top military targets, including personnel, but also infrastructure, but also targets associated with the regime, whether that be media, whether that be people close to the leadership in Iran. So that is something which we know we are increasingly hearing from members of the government about what this endgame might look like. But it is unclear, as you say, what the endgame will be. At what point would they consider their sort of offensive on Iran at the moment a success? And, as you say, what involvement would they want from the US at the moment, particularly from President Donald Trump?
Ione, good to see you. Thank you so much. We can take you now to Gia Gol, one of our colleagues from BBC Persian, who is in Jerusalem for us. Gia, just update us on what is happening in terms of damage to infrastructure, people killed in Iran today.
Well, Lucy, as we talk right now, I am receiving messages from Tehran. They say they can see a plume of smoke in center of Tehran, in west, and also during the day the Israeli fighter jets had been pounding numbers of places in Tehran and in Karaj, another city not far from Tehran, very strategic city in terms of industrial area and military compounds. But it seems Israeli also last night have killed one of the top General Shadmani, who was the commander of Khatam al-Anbiya. He is a branch and arm of Iranian Revolutionary Guards, very powerful in terms of military, economy, and also in politics as well, well linked with Iranian supreme leader. He was killed, and his killing posing this question. Of course, Israelis say they have killed him, but Iranians have not confirmed this yet. But what we are hearing right now in Iran, the government has been asking the personal protection units of the officials do not carry a device which connect to the net. They are afraid there might be electronic surveillance, or at least we know that killing a general with a high position just 5 days ago, his predecessor was killed. Certainly Iranians are worried the Israeli agents may have infiltrated or spying on them. That's why they knew exactly where he was, and they may have taken him out.
And Gia, the fear that this is causing amongst Iranians at the moment, particularly with President Trump also sort of saying people in Tehran have to evacuate. What sort of stories are you hearing from people there as they try to leave Tehran with their families? You know, there's often no fuel as well. What sort of stories are you hearing?
Lucy, the population of Tehran is, if you count the surrounding area, weighs more than the population entire Israel. And just imagine the entire country has to leave their homes. And even if they want to leave their homes, it takes time with their cars and get out of the city. I am hearing from people, they say we have sick people at home. We don't have a shelter. And obviously Iranian government haven't thought about this day. They haven't built shelter. And so many people are worried if this kind of attack happened, they might be hit. Many people have a loved one in the prison. They think if the prisons are being hit, those people have nowhere to go. And we hear this kind of story over and over again. And many people are angry with the government. They say this is not their fight. This is the government war they impose on the country. And so many people are angry with the economic situation, with inflation. That's why I think the Israeli government think by attacking Iranian security forces, by attacking Revolutionary Guards, intelligence service, which they have a pivotal role in suppressing and oppressing the protests in the past, they might create an environment for Iranian people to rise up. And I think this kind of problem, for example, the banking system was disrupted, it was hacked. Some of the gas station pumps didn't work, electronic one, there was a problem. And I think these kind of psychological war could agitate people, and I think Israeli hope people rise up and topple the government without sending any troops on the ground.
Gio, really good to get your thoughts. We're just going to leave you for a moment to listen in to Gideon Saar, who is Israel's foreign minister, speaking at the site of a strike in Rishon LeZion. He's taking questions from the media, speaking in English now. Let's have a listen.
Is it regime change, as many are suggesting now?
We have very clear goals. First of all, to severely damage the nuclear program. We hadn't finished with that. We still have objectives. We still have targets that now we can target easily, because our Air Force now can relatively fly freely there, and we still have objectives. Secondly, to severely damage the ballistic missiles program of the Iranian regime. And thirdly, to severely damage the plan to eliminate the State of Israel. Regime change is not an objective of this war. It can be a result, but it's not an objective we put to ourselves in this war.
The Iranian regime has done terrible things, but many would say that Israel is the real international pariah, accused of genocide in the International Court of Justice. Your Prime Minister wanted on war crimes allegations by the International Criminal Court.
These ridiculous allegations were already thrown by the appeal after we appealed, because this ridiculous court and corrupted court never even discussed the issue of jurisdiction, for example, because they don't have any authority over Israel. It's not. We are not a member state in the
But
ICC.
the number of people being killed.
We'll allow others. Yes, please.
Is a target as well?
I know it is strange, but we never say time ahead who is an objective and who is not. Every civilian, innocent civilians, are not a target. But you saw this morning we wake up and we've heard that the commander of Iran in this war was took out after we took out the first one. So I will commend to the next online that will be offered the job not to respond positively very quickly.
Minister Zar?
Next question. Yes, please.
Winston Marshall, British independent journalist. When Iran launched their missiles in April 2024, the British Royal Air Force were a part of the assistance to Israel in taking down those missiles and drones. The Times of London have reported that the British government were not informed about Operation Rising Lion. What changed in relations between Israel and Britain in that time, and what can we expect about future relations between the two countries?
I can only comment on behalf of the Israeli government and the Israeli people. You must ask this question the British government.
Thank you.
Can I ask
Other
if
questions,
what the
yes,
third
please.
objective?
Yes, Go ahead. Wait a second. Yes, please.
Patricia Gallardo from El Informador in Mexico. I wanted to ask you how many missiles have been launched since Friday, that was the start of the operation, and how many missiles have landed in Israel, and how many have been stopped by the Iron Dome?
We have, I cannot give you now the accurate number, but certainly hundreds of missiles. We knew when we decided on Thursday night this historic decision that we will face damages, that we will face casualties, but we also knew that there is a price not taking that decision. And that decision was taken in the last possible moment, a decision which is crucial to ensure the future and the security of the State of Israel.
Next question.
Yes,
please.
Julian Porter of The Guardian, you said the third objective is to get rid of the plan, Iran's plan to
severely damage Iran's eliminations plan.
So how do you do that without changing the regime?
We are doing that gradually. First, we cut the hands of the octopus when we dealt with Hamas and Hezbollah. Now we are dealing with the head of the octopus. We are dealing with the most significant threats, and there are the ballistic threats and the nuclear threat, and those threats are combined with their allies to the Iranian axis. And while we are taking this operation, we are no doubt getting a progress in achieving this objective.
Next question. Yes. Other questions?
Minister Zar, one IDS question.
You already asked.
Yes, please.
What is your Fernanda Muñoz, Reporte Indigo, Mexico City. What is your message to all the people in Israel and sufferings that feel in risk every night for the
We are facing difficult days, but the people of Israel support this operation because the people of Israel totally understand it is vital to ensure the future of this state. So I'm saying to them, we will face these difficult days, we will face these casualties as well, but we will ensure the future of the State of Israel for a very, very long time.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
That's Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Saar. He's at the site of a missile strike there in Rishon LeZion, which is a coastal city. It's just south of Tel Aviv, right near Ben Gurion Airport. Just talking about the clear goals and objectives of what Israel is trying to do in Iran to severely damage their ballistic missiles and nuclear program and their plans to eliminate Israel, making it clear that the regime the plans to topple the regime are not an objective of the Israeli government. He says they might be a result, but he says they are not an objective, despite the fact that we've heard the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu directly appeal to Iranians to overthrow the regime themselves. So that's the latest from the Israeli government. We'll have more on this story coming up around the world and across the UK. This is BBC News.